Good evening. In the news tonight, Governor Daniels signs a controversial bill authorizing the use of deadly force against intruders. And 3 people are arrested in another major meth bust in Vincennes.
In sports, the Indianapolis Colts have signed away New England Super Bowl hero, and Iowa coach Steve Offord may have some interest in Missouri's coaching vacancy.
Newscenter 22 is next. Governor Mitch Daniels has signed into law legislation endorsing Indiana's residents' right to use deadly force against intruders. The new law says Hoosiers do not have to retreat before using deadly force to prevent serious bodily injury to themselves or someone else. The law makes Indiana one of the only 3 states, along with Florida and South Dakota, with deadly force law. The National Rifle Association says 15 other states are considering similar legislation. Critics maintain that such laws can encourage gun violence. The governor's press secretary says he supports residents' right to use deadly force in a life-threatening situation. Meanwhile, Governor Daniels has also signed a bill establishing a lifetime handgun license. The bill was authored by State Representative Troy Woodruff of Vincennes. Among other things, it allows for a lifetime handgun license if an applicant has submitted 5 consecutive handgun license renewals. Governor Daniels says the state likely will be able to afford statewide full-day kindergarten next year, and it could be implemented by the start of classes in 2007. Daniels has said before the program was a good idea, but that the state couldn't afford it. But now he says the budget for the Indiana legislature, passed in 2005, and cost-cutting moves will erase a budget deficit by July 2007, if not sooner. Pfizer Incorporated says it will hire more than 450 new workers at its Terre Haute plant, where it manufactures the nation's first inhalable version of insulin. The company received federal approval in January to market Exubera, the first inhalable version of insulin. It gives millions of adult diabetics an alternative to some of the injections they now endure. The new hires are expected over the next 2 to 3 years and will boost Pfizer's workforce on its Exubera production line to about 650 employees. Early retirement buyouts will be offered to more than 100,000 workers at GM and its parts supplier, Delphi. The deals with the Auto Workers Union are designed to help both companies ease big financial troubles. Delphi has about 6,000 employees in Indiana, most of whom work at the company's Electronics and Safety Division headquarters in Kokomo and at facilities in Anderson. General Motors last week bumped up its reported loss for last year to $10.6 billion. Republicans in Illinois have picked a veteran politician with a brash personality to face the Democrat incumbent for governor. State Treasurer Judy Topinka is the winner of Tuesday's GOP primary and goes up against Rod Blagojevich, the easy winner on the Democratic side. The race sets up a battle between 2 political insiders, pitting the incumbent governor's record on education and health care against claims he mismanaged state money and used his office to reward political pals. Knox County Sheriff's deputies arrested 3 people and are looking for a 4th after locating another large meth lab in Vincennes last night. 39-year-old Bradley Tripp and 28-year-old Wendy Wimberly were charged with manufacturing methamphetamine after police tracked down a lab at 294 West Ewing Avenue. A 3rd person, 28-year-old Misty Dixon, was arrested for auto theft and possession of meth. Dixon was arrested for stealing Wimberly's van. When deputies stopped the van at Henderson and Niblack Boulevard, a man ran from the vehicle. The city of Vincennes will hold a construction meeting on the Beer House Boulevard project next week, so emergency responders, business owners, Vincennes school officials, and surrounding landowners can ask questions about or comment on the project. The 3-lane connector road is expected to alleviate traffic congestion on Kimmel Road. Stuart May is the consulting engineer on the project. He says the contractor hopes to start clearing right-of-way along State Road 61 starting Friday, with full construction expected to begin around April 1st. The Department of Transportation will pay up to 80% of the construction cost for the new roadway, while the city must pay 20% or $320,000. A 25-year-old soldier from Indianapolis is the latest Hoosier to be killed in Iraq. Army Specialist Antoine McKenzie was killed by sniper fire while on patrol in Baghdad yesterday. Military officials notified his family later in the day he was a member of the 4th Infantry Division. Meanwhile, a funeral service was held today at Fairmount High School for a 24-year-old graduate who was killed earlier this month in Afghanistan. Specialist Joshua Hill of Fowlerton was among 4 soldiers killed when an explosive device struck their Humvee. The Indiana Natural Resources Commission has voted to ban so-called canned deer hunts. The new regulations banning the hunting of deer in fenced areas could take effect in about 2 months. At least a dozen fenced hunting preserves are estimated to exist in Indiana. A southern Indiana hunting preserve owner has already asked for a restraining order to stop the DNR from implementing a ban. Only one area highway remains closed today due to flooding. The Indiana Department of Transportation says State Road 257 in Pike and Davies counties remains closed between State Road 356 and US 50 in Washington. Still to come on Newscenter 22, President Bush traveled to West Virginia today to continue drumming up support for the war in Iraq. And 4 more Iraqi police officers are dead, gunned down today in an insurgent raid on a police station south of Baghdad. Stay with us.
The public is invited to attend Meet Your Legislators on Saturday, March 25th at 9 a.m. in Davis Hall on the Vincennes University campus. The forum will include information from area legislators, followed by a question and answer session. Viewers can phone in their questions the day of the show to 812-888-5334 or send your email questions to wvut@vinu.edu. Our live broadcast begins at 9 a.m. The show will be rebroadcast that same day on WVUT at 5 p.m.
President Bush hit the road again today to try to rally support for the war in Iraq. In West Virginia, the president said it's okay for the average citizen to forget the lessons of September 11th, but it's his job to remember. Bush says his most vital responsibility is to defend America, stay on the offense, and never relent. The president also said it's time for Iraq's political leaders to get a government in place, and the Iraqi forces need to start taking the lead in securing their country. Meanwhile, militants launched another deadly attack on a police station today, the second such attack in as many days. Nick Robertson reports.
Well, the latest attack on a police station coming at 2 o'clock in the morning, about 20 kilometers south of Baghdad in the town of Medain. There, insurgents armed with mortars and machine guns tried to storm a police compound. The mayor's office was in the same compound. 3 policemen were killed, 1 Iraqi police commando also killed in that raid. The Iraqi Ministry of Interior say they have now launched an operation in the area. They say that they've rounded up 50 insurgents in that area. But that wasn't the only attack against Iraqi police today. In the west of Baghdad, a roadside bomb killed 2 Iraqi policemen, wounded 3 others. A roadside bomb in the south of Baghdad also targeted Iraqi policemen, only casualties there. Also, 3 bodies discovered in Baghdad this morning, according to Iraqi police. The bodies had their hands bound. They've been shot in the head. Apparent sectarian killings. Now, Iraq's former Prime Minister, Iyad Allawi, over the weekend had said that Iraq was in a state of civil war. I talked with him a little while ago. He appeared to be backtracking on that a little bit. What he said he wanted to do was highlight the rising sectarian tensions, the concern he has over that violence, and is still wants to ring the alarm bell.
It's not a full-blown civil war. It's really terrible and severe sectarian violence, which can turn into a full-blown civil war. And sectarian violence is a stage of a civil war, one of the stages of probably an early stage of civil war. And it is important to try and reverse this situation and get back the country on its feet towards recovery. allowing sectarian violence, lawlessness, severe acts of revenge, disappearance of people, killing on the identity, on names, assassinations. These are all manifestations of severe sectarian violence.
Well, former Prime Minister Alawi also says that he is concerned about the United Iraqi Alliance, the powerful Shia religious bloc here. He says he is not convinced about their intentions, whether or not they intend to form a government of national unity, which he says is important, or try and form a government from their own political bloc. He says if that's the case, then it would continue the trend of this sectarian tensions, and that, in his words, could tend towards civil war. Nick Robertson, Baghdad.
Iran's supreme leader is okaying proposed talks with the United States about Iraq. But Ayatollah Ali Khamenei says Washington better not try to, quote, bully Tehran. This is the first time he has expressed his approval of the discussions. His opinion is key because he effectively holds final say on all state matters in Iran. Khamenei's comments today come just hours after President Bush also spoke in favor of the discussions. The Secret Service says a suspicious package found on the White House North Lawn is no threat. A spokesman for the agency says a man is in custody for allegedly tossing the package over a fence. The spokesman says the man has done a similar act in the past. A remote-controlled device was used to probe the object. The Secret Service has given the all clear. The item was spotted after President Bush took off by helicopter to an event in West Virginia. Congress's mission to strengthen a crumbling pension system. The result, reform that critics say is anything but. In fact, there are more failing pension plans pushing cost onto the government. Christine Romans reports.
The White House wants Congress to fix the pension mess.
A growing economy means we've got to have a private pension system that is fully funded, and one in which those who pay into the private pension system keep the promises they made.
But after a year of lobbying and political horse trading on Capitol Hill,
the bills we're seeing in the House and Senate are definitely giant steps backward.
A conference committee is hammering out a compromise that may actually weaken the pension system. Congress, under intense pressure from companies, is allowing them more time to cover their gaping pension shortfalls and virtually eliminating disclosure requirements. An analysis by the government's pension agency forecasts Congress's so-called reform will slash funding to the system by up to $160 billion over the next 3 years, essentially underfunding a crumbling pension system in an attempt to fix it.
Takes a better economist than me to figure that one out.
Critics say Congress would allow unrealistic assumptions on how long retirees will be drawing pensions and special exceptions for the airline industry and some companies. Congressman Rob Andrews supported House legislation, but is now concerned the final bill may be watered down.
I think the larger interests that want the flexibility to walk away from pensioners and dump the obligations on U.S. taxpayers wrote the right campaign checks, made the right campaign contributions, and got away with it.
Without reform with teeth, many fear more pension failures, more government liability, and less security for the American worker. Christine Romans, CNN, New York.
Federal officials say New York and California residents breathe the dirtiest air and have a higher risk of cancer than other Americans. The Environmental Protection Agency reports rural residents of Wyoming, South Dakota, and Montana have the cleanest air. One of 6 family members who spent 2 weeks stuck in a snowbound RV in the Oregon mountains says the family didn't lose it during their ordeal. The family was rescued after 2 of them hiked out of the wilderness when they began to run low on food and fuel. A study finds state and local government per student spending on public colleges and universities plummeting from 2000 to 2005. A report from the State Higher Education Executive Officers finds that per student spending hit its highest level in at least 25 years in 2001. By 2005, the group of top state higher education officials say spending hit its lowest per student rate in 25 years. The The report attributes that to stagnant budgets and exploding demand for public higher education. An American doctor working in Botswana was killed by a crocodile that pulled him from his canoe. The family and colleagues of Dr. Richard Root say it happened Sunday during a wildlife tour after visiting a clinic. The crocodile reportedly thrust from the water, grabbed Root, and pulled him under. He was not seen again. Root was 68 and a medical professor at the University of Washington. He moved to Botswana to ease a doctor shortage and was training healthcare workers to deal with AIDS. Root was nationally known expert in infectious disease. Earth has 3 new satellites in orbit. The inexpensive satellites were due to be launched last week, but a technical malfunction scrubbed the launch until today. The small craft will test new technology for future space missions. They will simultaneously measure Earth's magnetic fields from different locations. The 55-pound satellites were carried from a California Air Force base on a jet and then fired on a rocket from the aircraft's belly. As the rocket took off, Mission Control said the flight shows good science can come in small packages. Microsoft says it won't release its new Windows operating system until January of next year. Analysts say the delay in the release of the consumer version of Vista hurts computer makers and retailers since they were banking on the new system to boost holiday sales this year. Still to come on Newscenter 22, Amy Reef has the latest weather for the Wabash Valley.
Tune in to WVUT this Wednesday night. At 8, National Geographic presents Quest for the Phoenicians. They are the bad boys in the Bible and their seafaring skills are legendary. But who exactly were the Phoenicians? What became of them and what was the secret of their success? Then at 9, Exploring Space, the Quest for Life considers the possibility of life beyond Earth. Wednesday night on WVUT.
Well, Amy, most of the snow has melted. Is there a warm-up on the way?
Although the snow has melted, we're going to continue to see some cool temperatures. Good evening, everyone. As we take a look outside to the tower cam, we currently have sunny skies, 40 degrees, and the wind is out of the northwest at 11 miles per hour. Humidity is at 48%, and the barometric pressure is at 30.33 and steady. Let's take a look at some area temperatures. Sunny all around. Princeton, Indiana is at 39 degrees. Wheatland is at 42, and in Illinois we have Lawrenceville and Olney both at 40 degrees. As we bring in our national temperature map, you can see cool temperatures for much of the nation. Currently in Lincoln, Maine, we have 41 degrees as they're experiencing some sunny skies and calm conditions out there. In the Panhandle, very cool temperatures as they're experiencing some snow, which I'll tell you about later. Currently, we have Amarillo, Texas at 28 degrees. And out on the west coast where they experienced the low pressure system that worked its way through yesterday, cooler temperatures for them as well. San Francisco is currently at 56 degrees. And some warmer temperatures in the southeast. We have Miami, Florida at 89 degrees. Let's take a look at our surface map. It's going to be generally quiet for much of the United States for the rest of the day, but the cool temperatures are going to remain. We're going to have temperatures actually 20 to 25 degrees cooler than normal for this time of the year. Let's take a look at the northeast. It's going to be sunny, mostly calm with some slight snow showers working their way through New York and the Pennsylvania area. Other than that, relatively calm. For the south, we're going to have the rain continuing to push through Texas into Louisiana, and we're going to have some snow showers for the northern part of Texas in the Panhandle area as they're going to experience anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of snow as this system continues working its way toward the east. Out on the west coast, we have this low pressure system working into the Seattle area where they're going to be experiencing a mixture of rain or snow over the evening, and they're going to be expecting anywhere from 3 to 6 inches. Now let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight, mostly clear with a low of 20 degrees. Tomorrow, partly cloudy with a high of 46. Tomorrow night, mostly cloudy with a low of 31 degrees. Now we'll look at your extended forecast. Friday, mostly cloudy, high of 42, low of 29. Saturday, partly cloudy with a high of 47, a low of 28. And Sunday, Mostly sunny with a high of 53 and a low of 36. And Kurt, that's a look at your weather.
Thanks, Amy. Still to come on Newscenter 22, the Colts have a new place kicker, and the Pacers' tailspin continues. Kristen Miller will have the latest coming up in sports.
Win the lottery? Get real. Real college, real experience, real careers, really fast.
Vincennes University Preview Days, March 24th and 25th. Log on to VINU.edu.
Make $30,000 a month in real estate? Get real. Real college, real experience, real careers, really fast. Vincennes University Preview Days, March 24th or 25th. Register at VINU.edu.
Vinatieri switches sides. Good evening, everyone. For TV 22 Sports, I'm Kristen Miller. Adam Vinatieri helped the New England Patriots earn several important wins against the Indianapolis Colts in recent seasons. Now he's joined the enemy, agreeing in principle to a deal with the Colts. He replaces Mike Vanderjagt, who missed a potential game-tying field goal in the Colts' 21-18 playoff loss to Pittsburgh 2 months ago. Vinatieri has hit a pair of Super Bowl-winning field goals for the Patriots. Vinatieri isn't the only big name to change teams yesterday. The New York Jets have shipped Pro Bowl defensive end John Abraham to the Atlanta Falcons in a three-way deal with Denver. Abraham had requested a trade when the Jets made him their franchise player for the second straight year. In the deal, the Jets get the 29th overall pick in this year's draft, the Broncos receive the 15th overall selection, and the Falcons get middle-round choices this year and next. The Chicago Bears have signed quarterback Brian Griese to a 5-year pact. Griese threw for over 1,100 yards and led Tampa Bay to a 5-1 start last year before suffering a season-ending knee injury. Pau Gasol had 23 points to lead the Memphis Grizzlies in a 105-75 win over the Indiana Pacers. The game marks the Grizzlies' 4th straight win. Jeff Foster and Anthony Johnson each scored 15 points for the Pacers, who had only 3 points in the first 8 minutes of the 4th quarter. The game snaps Memphis' 3-game losing streak against Indiana, with 6 of their players shooting in double figures. Minnesota has put an end to Miami's 5-game winning streak by downing the shorthanded Heat 100-96. Ricky Davis had 26 points, a season-high 10 assists, and 7 rebounds, while Kevin Garnett added 23 points and 11 boards. The Heat played without center Shaquille O'Neal because of a right thumb injury suffered during a dunk attempt Sunday. Dwayne Wade led Miami with 35 points and 8 assists. Dirk Nowitzki pumped in 28 points, and the Dallas Mavericks bounced back from Sunday's 11-point loss at New Jersey by downing the visiting Houston Rockets 88-72. Nowitzki scored the Mavericks' first 12 points of the final period. Dallas didn't get a point from anyone else in the quarter until Jerry Stackhouse hit 2 free throws with about 4 minutes left. Stackhouse finished with 16 points. Yao Ming had his worst scoring game in a month, finishing with 13 on 6 of 15 from the field. Missouri officials have asked to talk to Iowa basketball coach Steve Alford. Iowa Athletic Director Bob Bowlesby told the Associated Press that Alford hasn't told him if he's going to be interviewing with anyone. Missouri Athletic Director Mike Alden has been looking for a coach since Quinn Snyder resigned on February 12th. Bowlesby declined to say whether other schools have contacted him about Alford. In recent weeks, Alford has been linked to media reports to the head coaching vacancy at Indiana. Purdue is making a trip to the Sweet 16 of the NCAA Women's Tourney. The Boilermakers beat UCLA 61-54 as they held the Bruins' high-powered offense to its worst shooting performance of the year. Purdue will face top-ranked North Carolina on Sunday. Texas Tech has taken the first step in trying to lure away Purdue women's basketball coach Christy Curry. Texas Tech has asked Purdue for permission to talk to Curry about its opening head coach job, and Purdue has granted that request. Marcia Sharp announced last month that this season would be her last after 24 years as Texas Tech's coach. The 10th-ranked Newcastle Trojans are within 1 victory of the school's first state tourney championship since 1932. They play unranked Jay County, which upset Wabasee and Plymouth the past 2 weeks for the Class 3A title Saturday night. Jay County's Patriots are in the finals for the first time. Washington Nationals second baseman Alfonso Soriano was in left field today when the Nats started their game with St. Louis. Acquired in a trade with Texas in the offseason, Soriano had refused to play left, citing his history at second base. He was given an ultimatum by the club: play left or be placed on the disqualified list. Being placed on the disqualified list would have prevented him from accruing service time and receiving his $10 million salary. Veteran Sweeney Ponson has been named the 5th starter for the St. Louis Cardinals. He joined the Cards last September after being cut by Baltimore. Former Major League pitcher Dwight Gooden admitted in court today that he violated his probation by using cocaine. The 41-year-old will be sentenced next month and faces up to 5 years behind bars. Gooden, who starred for the New York Mets and other teams, admitted to a probation officer last week that he had used cocaine. He was serving 3 years probation for speeding away from a police officer during a traffic stop last year. And Kurt, that's a look at sports.
Thanks, Kristen. Still to come, workers discovered a Cold War-era stockpile of survival supplies inside the Brooklyn Bridge this week. We'll take a look at exactly what they found when Newscenter 22 continues. In New York, city officials have made a chilling discovery: a huge 50-year-old stash of emergency supplies set aside in case of nuclear war. Food, water, medicine, all of it ready if the Soviets attacked. It adds up to a pretty scary reminder of life during the worst of the Cold War. Here's Ginny Mose.
The atomic bomb explodes. Duck and cover.
More than half a century later, duck and cover was dust covered. It was as if a fallout shelter had fallen out of a time capsule.
We are hot on the trail of the Cold War.
In a dark, dirty, arched chamber under the Brooklyn Bridge, workers stumbled on barrels of evaporated drinking water, paper blankets, medical tags for the injured.
So they actually tied these to people's toes?
The water barrels were to serve double duty.
To be used as commodes.
I was going to ask if there was a restroom.
No restroom, but plenty of crackers. 350,000 crackers manufactured in October 1962.
This is how it looked in October 1962.
The Cuban Missile Crisis. The country was freaking out.
What this thing is?
So they filled bomb shelters with bandages.
Put other side next to wound.
Duck and cover. Atta boy, Tony. That flash means act fast.
But Tony couldn't have acted fast enough. Historian Mike Wallace says evacuation plans and fallout shelters were propaganda designed to make Americans feel safe.
It's a colossal placebo, you know. It's like this effort to convince us that it's just 4 or 5 days, and then you'll come up and you'll take a bath, you'll wash off the radiation, and you'll have a few crackers, and you're home free.
As for those crackers, what would they taste like after 44 years?
Should I?
Yeah.
This is probably going to get me faster than the radiation would have.
New York City's Transportation Commissioner concurred.
This is the worst tasting cracker I've ever tasted in my life.
Duck and cover. When it comes to 44-year-old crackers, duck and spit. Ginny Mose, CNN, New York.
And that's all for this evening. For Kristen Miller and Amy Reef, I'm Kurt Maddox. Good night.